Ms. Thompson, please call the roll.
Ms. Brown,
Here.
Ms. Waugh,
Here.
Dr. Mann, Dr. Fellow,
Here.
Mr. Martin, Dr. Selvage,
Here.
Mr. Thompson,
Present.
Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Ms. Cooper, please tell us what's on the agenda for tonight.
Yes, President Brown, our very short closed session agenda is collective bargaining, PCC-CFT, CSA, and POA, lead negotiator myself, Government Code Section 54957.6, and negotiation with unrepresented employees, confidentials, designated negotiator Dr. Miller, and the Government Code Section is 54957.9A.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper. Do we have anyone in the audience wishing to address the board and any of these closed session agenda items? If not, we will recess to closed session. Motion by Trustee Feller and second by Trustee Waugh. Advisory vote? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Question or discussion. What numbers here are particularly pertinent to policymaking? What's happened in the last quarter or so that you think you ought to draw to our attention? Anything in particular?
Well, if you look at the second page, and you see the revenues over under expenditures line, and you see the percentage of general fund balance of the general fund expenditures, you'll see that we are operating in a way that is not totally to our budget. And the reason for that is that we've had to advance significant sums to restore our FTES to levels that the state will allow us to, as well as to grow. So that's part of the reason why you see some of these numbers the way that you see them right now. But in general, though, we are functioning fine, and as the year plays out, these things will clarify themselves, and we will be reporting out to the board accordingly.
Yeah, and the last meeting or meeting before, we authorized a transfer to cover cash flow, and has anything transpired since then that's...
No, we've not needed to do inter-fund borrowing since that time.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Advisory vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? None. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, let's move on to our next topic would be sabbatical leaves.
So, in board agenda item H, under the category of sabbatical leaves, is a list of the sabbaticals that are being recommended by the Academic Senate, and by virtue of that, through Dr. Bell as well. You'll notice as you look at page 2 of 3 and 3 of 3, the individuals who are being recommended for sabbaticals, the department or division that they are in, and the types of sabbatical that they have requested. The policy states that up to 4% in any given year can be recommended by the Academic Senate, and in this case, Dr. Bell out of his office. And the practice of the board for many, many years has been to grant up to that 4% should that occur. So, or should it be warranted, I should say. And so in this particular case, what you have here is the recommended sabbatical leaves for 2015-16, broken down in the 2% cutoff point, the 3% cutoff point, and the 4% cutoff point. And you'll see what these folks are doing and the length of time of their sabbatical. So it'd be the administration's recommendation that the board approve these sabbatical leaves for 2015-16.
Yes, Trustee Thompson?
I don't understand the 2% cutoff point, 3% cutoff point, 4%. Explain again, please, what that means.
So basically, it's the percentage of full-time faculty that we have. So in past years, the question has come to us, what the number of faculty being brought forward, how does that compare to the overall percentage of overall faculty that we have? So the folks that are in the 2%, they represent the maximum number, 2% of our total full-time faculty. Then you go down to 3%, you add those additional 4 people, that's 3%, and then you go to the 4% cutoff, and that's what that represents. On page 3 of 3, it just breaks down the type of sabbatical leave that each individual is getting: professional study, approved travel, research, or research and travel. So in this case, if the board were to decide only to go with the 2%, then those people below at the 3% cutoff, those 4 people would not be approved. If you went all the way to the 4% area and you decide we're going to cut off at 3%, then that one individual would not be approved.
I have another question here. I'm sure all of these people are very competent and very valuable to the college, but 2 particularly stand out at me and cause me concerns with their being gone for a year. And first is Patricia DeOrange Martin, who heads up our counseling program of the veterans. And who will replace her? I mean, will we have somebody take her place for this year?
Dr. Bell, thank you.
Trustee Thompson, I'll be happy to address that for you. Dr. Olivo is working putting in place a plan, so we will have sufficient coverage when Professor DeOrange Martin takes leave. So we are aware of her value to the VRC, but we do have a plan in place, so we have sufficient backup and guidance for the VRC.
And are we confident that, and again, I don't know who the person is, I'm not directing my comments at any individual, but Ms. DeOrange Martin has done just an outstanding job with that program, and I just don't want to have any hiccups or problems with the program just because she happens not to be there for a full year's time. So are we confident that it's going to continue to work as smoothly as possible? Trustee Lewis, you're one of the people who has most experience with this.
If I may, I think it's important to remember that, well, actually something Patty likes to say is it takes a village. So it's everyone from Dr. Olivo to me to Carol to Patty, everyone's involved. And I think if we have to pull together to take up the slack for Patty to have a little break, I think she's earned it, and we can do that.
No question about that. I just want to be sure that we are.
Right.
If I may?
I think Dr. Olivo can speak very specifically to the issue.
We are prepared to move with a plan of action if the Board of Trustees will approve the sabbatical leaves this evening. So we just wanted to first see if the board will approve the sabbatical leaves, and then we will approach the individual that we have in mind to take the duties. As Marshall said, it does take a village, and we are prepared to pull together so that Patty can experience a sabbatical leave.
And so the short answer is, Trustee Thompson, we will make certain that the replacement is of very high quality to maintain the integrity of our program.
All right, I will hold you to that promise.
Sure you will.
I believe all faculty should be able to get sabbaticals. It should be automatic every few years, and I move this approval.
Yeah, no, I don't dispute that one bit. The other person I had a question about, again, because of her competence and the outstanding work that she's done, is Kathy Wee.
May I interject?
So let me just,
Eduardo wanted to-
yeah, go ahead, sir.
I can speak to the matter briefly. Back in December, I attended a veterans conference with Patty Martin, Harold Martin, and Kara Calandra. And I was extremely impressed by the way the members or the participants of the conference received them. They were well recognized, the amount of knowledge that they brought in. And one of the most important things that I noticed was that soon after every single workshop, all three individuals, Carol, Patty, and Harold, first thing they went to go speak to the speakers. They introduced themselves, or making sure that Pasadena City College was well represented. And based on what I saw and what I heard, both Carol and Harold would do a magnificent job of temporarily taking over for Carol.
Okay.
I mean, for Patty, excuse me.
Yes, trustees.
The other person I had mentioned was Kathy Wee, just,
Trustee
I'm sorry.
Salvage.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. On Patty, I thought we approved sabbatical last spring or something, and
I was just going to say that
she didn't
Ms.
leave.
DeOrange Martin
We
has
had
been
the same
incredibly gracious
conversation.
Okay,
for the last 2 years, I believe, in deferring her sabbatical
okay.
to assure that the Veterans Resource Center program got off to a good start. So I truly believe she's earned it, as I know everybody else does. But
So we have a motion by trustee,
Let's deal with, if we may, with Miss Kathy
we have Way.
first.
Okay.
Same issue, same question. I mean, she's extremely competent, done a great job and all that, and I don't question for a second her entitlement to take the time off, but are we prepared to fill in for her while she's gone?
I'm getting a nod of affirmative from Dean Ulmer, who
Okay.
absolutely will make sure that we're in good shape with that. I know Dean Ulmer well in that regard. And then beyond that, I want to remind the board that we have an interim associate dean of international education now, Dr. Russell Frank, and some of the areas that Kathy was helping us with in terms of international education and the activities, Dr. Frank can help fill in as well.
Trustee
I
Wall.
will, I need to clarify my motion. I also would put in there a 4% cutoff. Okay.
Trustee Wall.
Just to answer Trustee Thompson, I had a chance to talk to Dr. Way briefly, and she had relayed to me that she was requesting a sabbatical. And you notice that she is asking for research and travel, and so one of the things that she is working on is research for a program that she would like to bring back to PCC that she feels would be very valuable for our students. So I think certainly this is something that we would want to see.
I don't doubt for a moment that she's going to come back with enrichment for the college and all of that. I just want to make sure that when she's gone, we don't miss something.
Yeah, we'll
Second the motion.
Yes, Trustee Martin.
I'm seconding the motion.
Oh. Okay.
You needed a second so we could continue this discussion.
Okay, we got a first from Dr. Fellow and a second from Trustee Martin. Any other discussions? If not, advisory vote.
Aye.
All in favor to approve the sabbatical?
Aye.
Motion's carried unanimously. Okay, so let's say sometimes it's not so good to be that good, huh? No one wants to see you go, but that's great. Good job to both of them. Okay, so we have the resolution, which is item I, has been pulled per request of the community that came by, the Armenian community. They need to have some words sort of rephrased. And also, the board policies J, we will not have that tonight because the chairperson, Dr. Jeanette Mann, is ill tonight. So we're moving right along to informational items. So go ahead, Dr. Miller.
Thank you. So the enrollment management report for spring 2015 semester, I'm going to ask Dr. Kathy Scott, our Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs, to provide a brief report. I will to the end. Well, you can do whatever you're comfortable with. So just for everybody in the audience here, it's possible that board members will ask questions during the presentation. So for those of you giving presentations, don't be surprised if that happens.
Good evening,
Dr. Scott.
trustees. I'm here tonight to provide a very brief enrollment management update on our numbers for the spring 15 semester. Just to refresh your memories, and you've seen this information before, our target this year is 22,581 FTES. That comes from the base of 21,341 and the access growth, which we were provided by the state, of 800 FTES, and then the potential access growth of 400. As I told you previously, there are some schools that are not in a position to grow, and we're hoping that that money will be given to colleges that are in a position to grow, as PCC is. And the numbers thus far, looking at the second summer session, and this is an actual number versus a projection or a target, about 1,300 FTES. For fall of 14, again, an actual, about 9,700 FTES. And for spring, we're projecting 9,633, which is quite substantially above what we thought it would be. It's about 500 FTES. For the summer and fall and spring, we're quite a bit over where we thought we would be because we've had trying to do such a good job with enrollment management and with our growth targets. For the first summer session, we're targeting about 1,000 FTES. And we believe that we will come in at the end over the target that we set for ourselves. The non-credit numbers are there as well for the summer, the fall, spring, and the first summer session. Also, the head count is provided here as a comparison. In spring of 2014, it was 24,208. For spring of 2015, 25,402, a 5% increase. And the fill rate in spring of 14 was 86%, and this semester it's 93% at the end of the first week. Our FTES comparison, for 13-14, it was 21,341. For this year, 14-15, our projection is that we will be at about 22,668. We believe that we will have achieved about a 6% growth.
And I'll just add very quickly that this accomplishment is really quite extraordinary. The thanks goes to our faculty, to our deans, to our staff, and other managers who have done this. That's the first thing. Second thing is our growth of a little over 10% last year, 10.4%, which made us the number 4 or number 5 in the nation as far as growth was concerned, is quite significant. Now, the other 4 colleges are also in California. The other thing is, as the survey has gone around right now, most colleges have either stayed, in our service area, have either stayed flat or grown at 1 or 2%. A couple grew at roughly 4%, and then there was 2 of us who grew at 6%. That's really quite extraordinary. As many have heard me say, within 30 miles of PCC, there are 17 other community colleges. It means that many students jumped over those other schools, decided to come here because of the quality of our faculty, our programs, our support services, everything that is PCC. We've aggressively pursued this growth because of the need to achieve the restoration targets and opportunities that were afforded us by the state, which actually had drop-dead dates. If you didn't restore that FTS that was taken away from you during what they call the Great Recession, you were going to lose that opportunity at certain periods of time. So we had to go after that, and because we felt strongly that other districts were not going to be able to hit their restoration and growth targets, we've been told consistently by the Chancellor's office that the system doesn't want to leave any FTS money on the table, and therefore those who could grow could take advantage of that. So there's nothing that we've heard that will change that. So we think we're in good shape. Going into 14-15, or I should say 15-16, we'll be more conservative based upon a proposed growth allocation formula that's not at the moment as advantageous to us as it should be. It would limit our growth to 1.1%. Many of us in this room are working diligently on that to change it. So our growth targets next year will be pegged at 3% at the moment, until we know more about what's going to happen with the budget.
Correct.
So may I ask a question? So just for my understanding, last year, I think, is when we pursued offering the right classes so that we could grow. And it helped the students because the students, most people, need certain classes to graduate or, transfer,
Correct.
what have you.
Correct.
So what I'm hearing now is that because of the new formula, that is going to sort of restrict us with growth, we're going to sort of, how are we going to deal with that? I mean, that's a little troublesome.
Well, we're trying to add the classes that students need, obviously, so that they can complete what they're here to complete. We're using census numbers from the prior spring or the prior fall, depending on what schedule we're building, to see what classes filled the most, which ones were sort of, maybe 60% full, 70% full, combining sections where we could and adding more where they were really, really full. We've been consistently doing that. The deans have been following it very carefully and scheduling classes very carefully. This semester, we canceled about 161 low-enrolled classes and added 90 higher demand classes. And we're also using waitlist information to help us understand what classes the students need the most. And to our ability, we're trying to add in those classes.
Thank you. Trustee Lewis.
When is the official FTES counted now?
I'd have to ask my colleague, Crystal Colross. I don't know. The census number was fairly recent. Census date was fairly recent. It does take some time after that.
Do we have the census information yet, Crystal?
No, we do not.
Right.
They're asking when will we have the firm numbers based on census data,
What-
our FTES numbers.
Even more specifically, I mean, when are there actual, when is the number not going to change anymore? When is it completely calculated, not projected?
Crystal, would you mind get the mic for our video audience? Thank you.
Sorry, Crystal. He asked you to, not me.
Well, actually, the final number doesn't come in until the term is over because of positive attendance. So we don't record positive attendance until probably 2 to 3 weeks after the end of the term, and that's when we finalize all the numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Yes, Trustee Selvage.
Some of the questions I've got are sort of definitions for the terminology. This is on the cover enrollment, this is credit and non-credit, correct? Combined?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, it's not there anymore, but
On the second page, you have access growth and potential access growth. What's the definition for those two? That
well,
terminology?
access growth was the 3.5% that the state told us they would give us because they were allowing us to grow the base. And the potential access growth is the growth that we were hoping to achieve based on other colleges' inability to grow. We are in a unique position of having a huge demand, and we have the ability to grow 6% or higher. So we targeted about 3% over the 3.5 so that we would be in a position to achieve even a higher base if we could.
So that third line, potential access growth, is just what we want to do in addition to the access growth.
Well, we're hoping that the state had told the colleges that if they could get additional growth, they should try, and that they would try to fund us for it. So it was our desire, and that would also grow our base, and that's a very big incentive for us to try to do this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The next page, 3, the 2014-50 FTES, it starts with the second session summer and goes through fall, spring, and then first session. Do we start the school year in the second session summer?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we do, because it technically falls into the next fiscal year.
Good point. Okay. And the fill rate. The fill rate is, that's on page 4?
Yes. That's the percentage at which the classes are full. If they were completely full, they would be 100%.
Wait a minute, so 80, this means 86% of the classes were 100%?
No, it means the classes overall were 86, average 86%.
Okay, so the number of seats that we had available, 86% were filled?
Correct.
Okay.
Or 2014, but the good news there is that in spring of 2015, the period we're in now, we're actually have a headcount increase of over 1,200, and we have a fill rate that is 7% higher than it was this time last year, with how many less sections, roughly?
We had 227 fewer sections this spring compared to last spring, and we have about 600 additional FTES, even with that number of fewer sections.
So what it means from an enrollment management point of view is that we were able to schedule more courses that students needed with the mounting of less sections to do that.
Correct.
Therefore, we were more efficient from a dollars and cents perspective.
Correct.
And we are serving at least 1,200 additional seats, if you will, students in that regard. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
But
so
overall, it's a good thing.
getting that fill rate up is efficiency.
That's correct. The
Correct.
higher the rate, the
Right,
more
okay.
efficient. That's correct.
And I had seen some figures, I had asked about numbers of students that we had, basically head count for the fall semester, and from the census day, excuse me, which I think was the third week for the fall, sometime in the third week, we lost, excuse me, 4.4% over the course of the semester. The head count dropped by that much. Is that a normal figure?
I think if you're referring to traditionally, spring is lower
Correct.
enrolled than fall, just
Correct.
because
No,
of people's lives.
I'm talking about in the fall semester, a certain number of people were there on census day. At the end of the semester,
Oh.
after the census
yeah.
day,
Yes.
some people dropped. So
That's-
Sure.
we
that's-
dropped about,
yeah.
Yeah,
4 to 5%. Is that a normal drop?
Yes, it's probably more than that. But a number of students, for whatever reason, may drop. Yeah, it's pretty typical for the community colleges generally. I mean, we work on our retention continually, trying to do what we can to keep students in school. But sometimes things happen and students
Yeah,
can't, or
But
they may drop because they're not performing academically at the level they should be.
And
Well, I wasn't
Sure.
drawing attention to it because I thought it was high. I was just asking if
It is
that's
fairly typical,
what the normal.
but I think it's important what Dr. Scott just referred to, and Dr. Levo and others, Dr. Klein, others can talk about that, particularly with our new Pathways program, this whole notion of providing appropriate interventions to try to keep students in class, this whole notion of the success coaches and mentors and tutors and folks who just work on retention and persistence. So we're actually addressing that.
And I was in our tutoring center a couple of days ago, and it was just jam-packed. So, we are doing everything we can to help students be successful.
Trustee Wall?
So thank you for the report. So I'm glad to see that we're getting such healthy numbers. I just really have a general comment, and it was just something that you said, Dr. Scott, about watching where we have low enrollments and then closing classes. And I think, having just heard from the garment group, they were a little surprised, and I don't know if they knew that there was a plan ahead. That's fine. But also because last semester I took a non-credit class over at Rosemead, and they closed that class, as you know. And some of the comments I heard back from the community were that we're not getting information out about what classes are available to the community so that they can enroll. And actually, this is in Trustee Martin's area. Much of the community still think that that's an adult ed center. They don't even know that we're there. So this is really just, as Dr. Miller knows, sorry. I think they're tough. Okay. That something that I think that we should be watching is making sure that we are getting more information out about what is available and what does the community need. And as you know, I've been asking, I hope that we will be putting surveys out to make sure that we are hitting the target and offering the courses that the community needs, and not just surveying those students who come to the center who already know the center is there.
Yes.
Yeah, and with President Brown's approval, at the next board meeting, we're going to have a Rosemead update, pretty detailed report.
Great. Any other questions, discussion? If not, we'll move to the next agenda item.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item, actually the next two with President Brown's approval, item L, Pasadena Academic Career Trust update, which will be given by Dr. Levo, and then Dr. Levo can stay and do the update on the associate degree transfer report.
Thank you very much. So I am reporting on the Pasadena Academic and Career Trust. This is the dual enrollment partnership program we have with the Pasadena Unified School District.
Got a little technology delay here. There we go.
I would like to thank our K-12 partners who are with us tonight. Dr. Falez Rani, the Executive Director of Secondary Education from Pasadena Unified School District, and Dr. Marissa Sarian, Director of Linked Learning from Pasadena Unified School District. They're here tonight. I also would like to recognize faculty member Lionel Wiggins from Counseling and Career Technical Education, as well as Salomon Davila and Armando Duran from Counseling. Together, we have been working on a project to help students in high school to take advantage of dual enrollment opportunities, which are available through our current education code. Our intention is to help students to explore career options as early as 9th grade. As you all know, with the new Student Success Act, many students, or all students, have to choose a major by the time they earn 15 units here at PCC. So if we help students prior to enrolling here at PCC, then they will be able to make decisions about their academic choices. And so the picture that you see before you is our first cohort of students. These are 88 students who were enrolled in career classes at the 4 high schools in PUSD. Each of these students started a 10-year plan, and this is a product that they were able to begin in their class. And the semester culminated with a campus tour, and each student received a PCC ID card. During the semester, we continued to meet with our PUSD partners to address operational issues, to continue to work on a draft memorandum of understanding, and to plan for the future. We also conducted a presentation to the Pasadena Unified School District Board of Trustees, similar to the one that I presented to all of you. In addition, we continue to explore other models that exist, including the South Texas dual enrollment model, which there are 5,000 students enrolled from one unified school district in South Texas Community College. And the data they are finding is really astounding. Student high school graduation rates have increased, college-going rates have increased, college graduation rates have increased for students from historically underrepresented groups. We've also conducted a baseline data survey with the UCLA team of researchers to understand what our 9th grade students, as well as other high school students, know about the value of a PCC education. This semester, we have nearly 80 students enrolled in business information technology at each PUSD high school, and we've integrated the 10-year plan into that course so that students can continue to explore their career choices through BIT. We are also having ongoing meetings with Pasadena Unified School District. And just yesterday, we met with the administration and teachers from South El Monte High School to discuss beginning a cohort there. We're presenting here to all of you. We attended the Get Focused, Stay Focused conference and the Chancellor's Office Summit on dual enrollment just last month. And we will continue to get further data with our UCLA research team because we really want to be able to identify the changes that we're able to help students achieve in their lives through this intervention. The impact that we are seeking through dual enrollment on our PUSD graduates is to increase graduation rates, to provide more options for students, to save families the money that it takes to get a college education, to increase four-year college acceptance rates so that our students can be ready for the workforce, and also to ensure that students have an opportunity to enter into college-level courses. Our current funding sources are through our Workforce Education and Development area with our Career Pathways Trust Grant, our Senate Bill 1070 funding, and our Title V Design Technology Pathway funding.
And can you describe 1070 just for a second, please? Just what that is, briefly.
Senate Bill 1070 exists in Solomon Davila's area, and it's available to fund partnerships with K-12 so that students can have experiential learning experiences.
Thank you.
We also attended a conference with Cal State Los Angeles in fall of 2014, and we discussed with them all of the work that we've been doing with Pasadena Unified School District and dual enrollment, and they're very interested to link up with us so that students will begin in 9th grade here in our dual enrollment program, transition to our first-year experience program, and then eventually open the door to a Cal State Los Angeles guaranteed admission. So we're continuing to have our conversations with them so that we can build that pathway for our students. And what do you have to look forward to in the spring? We'd like to host the 88 students and their parents for a spring celebration. We are continuing to explore which courses to offer in the fall to recruit a new cohort of high school students. We're building a webpage, and we will bring before you a final memorandum of understanding. And I'd be happy to answer questions if you have them.
Trustee Martin?
How was South El Monte selected to be a potential next pact?
Good question. Solomon Davila worked on the Career Pathways Trust Grant, and that is one of the partners identified in that grant proposal. And I can let him explain to you how they were selected.
Good evening, trustees. The reason why El Monte Unified High School District was selected is because of the legacy I've sustained with that school district working with the program that I used to teach in. So it was partnerships that I've built with the teachers, with the principals, associate principals of that high school through articulation agreements I've sustained as a faculty member through the Engineering Design Technology program. So I knew the pathway and the connection was already there to establish. And I've been attempting to do that for over a decade. Now the grants that we recently obtained, plus this new program that we're trying to pilot, will actually make that reality of having the students really have a seamless way to transition into our college, much easier than what I attempted over a decade ago.
And if I may add, since the time we've done presentations for the Temple City Unified School District, the Alhambra Unified School District. We are planning one for San Marino coming up here. I know Trustee Fellow would be very interested for us to work with Arcadia Unified on this. And in the meetings that we've had thus far, there's a great deal of interest in pursuing this. There's a couple of challenges associated with that. One is the legislation pending on dual/concurrent enrollment, and all the activity surrounding that to put legislation and funding patterns in place to make this viable for both the K-12 districts as well as the community college districts. And then secondly, gearing this thing up, bringing it to scale. I know that Dr. Lebo has said on the past that because this is a pilot, we want to make sure that we perfect it before we go too crazy with it, if you will. Me, on the other hand, wants to go crazy with it because it's such a good thing. So, so we're working. You know, she's in between a rock and a hard place, but we're getting there.
One of the other reasons why we need to move slowly with this is because we currently do not have an infrastructure in place to offer it to every school district. So at this point, I've got college assistants and adjunct counselors helping to implement this program. We also would like to be very specifically directed at ensuring that each school district who buys into the pact understands that we would like to help ninth grade students get on their 10-year plan and focus on exploring career options. That's extremely important to us because we want to help students intentionally explore career options so that when they enroll here, they understand what their choices are and they make an academic decision by the time they're in 15 units.
Okay, Trustee Martin was not finished.
Okay, so you kind of interchangeably flip terms there on me. South El Monte High School is part of the El Monte Union High School District, so I get that. So it seems like the answer to the question I asked was there's some relationship statewide with the El Monte Union High School District and some relationship personally or specifically with South El Monte High School. My concern is that within the El Monte High School District, you have Arroyo and Rosemead, which are part of the PCC district, Arroyo split. And you have South El Monte, which is about as far to Rio Hondo as Pasadena High School is to PCC. I mean, it's kind of, asking South El Monte students, now they might be able to make PCC Rosemead in 20 minutes, but asking them to come to Pasadena is quite a trek, where it seems like there'd be more of a natural flow for them to walk across the street from Rosemead High School to PCC or up here. So that was my nature of my question, that it was South El Monte in particular that was selected. And I understand there's personalities and things is what I'm hearing that need to connect, and if you have them, you use them, and if you don't have them, you can't. So
we're uniquely positioned in the industry that we selected in advanced manufacturing robotics, something that Rio Hondo does not have. So that's they come out here many times. We've hosted them for many projects. They do make the trek, and we've had a substantial relationship. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Trustee Wah.
So I've long been a proponent of dual enrollment, and just want to remind everyone and invite the trustees that LACSTA will be having a dual enrollment event at the San Marino Middle School on February 19th at 5:30. So I invite Dr. Miller and his staff to come. In fact, I think, Dr. Olivo, you're going to be presenting. But I want to I understand the issue of of not having sufficient infrastructure and not wanting to extend yourself before you're ready. But sort of the talk that goes on in LACSTA, which is the bringing together of the K-12 and the higher post-secondary education groups, is that actually the K-12s don't understand how they are part of this dual enrollment. And I do think that it behooves us to start engaging in them so that we start to break down these silos of education. So even if you're not ready, it's good for us to talk about it. The second thing is, one of the things we'll be talking about at the February 19th event is that there are many models. So we'll have you guys present, but we'll also have the Compton Middle College present. And then we'll engage in discussion with some of the other models. And I do think that to create this sort of a model of success, we have to look at what are the different models that fit. So while I just want to make sure that while we're going forward in PCC and building a model, we're not overlooking that there may be other K-12s within our district where a different model might be adjusted.
Yes, we are absolutely aware that there are various models of dual enrollment, and we are interested in pursuing whatever fits the needs of each K-12 school district.
Mr. Carroll?
Not to rain on anyone's parade, but I have a different perspective on the matter. I'm going to go the faculty perspective. I completely understand the reason why we want to do this, to bring in more students. But from my perspective as a faculty member, what I'm concerned is what are we doing to keep the students that we have in the classroom? As Trustee Selvage mentioned earlier, we start with 45 students at that first week, and we end up with 20. So the question is, what are we doing to find out why those other 25 left the classroom? And I think we need to spend more time trying to get an answer in terms of how to maintain those individuals, those students that leave the classroom? What can we do for them so that they can stay in the classroom and succeed? I think we all agree that our college has a very, very high percentage of remedial students. I know there's various programs, but we don't have the infrastructure. Is it College One or Pathways, something like that? We don't have the structure to meet all 20,000, 25,000 students. So rather than going out and bringing in those students, I think we should spend more time and effort to keep our students in the classroom and have them succeed rather than have them drop them out, because I don't know if we know the reasons why they're dropping.
Yeah, I respect your opinion, and I don't think it's an either or. I think we can do both, and you're right, we need to do both. I think that we need to invest our energy in pursuing models that have been statistically proven to work, especially for students from underserved populations, and dual enrollment is one of those methods. I also believe that we need to continue to engage our faculty and staff like we are proposing to do with the Student Equity Project, to request the ideas to come forward so that we can address the student retention issues together. I know we can do it, and we will do it.
But at the moment, what are we doing? So let's eliminate the student equity plan that hasn't passed. That's something that hopefully will, but what are we doing right now?
Okay, so let me go to the next
I apologize.
Trustee Salvage.
You're right. I apologize.
Had a couple of questions on, let's see, slide number 2, 88 students enrolled in career exploration classes. What are those classes? What's a career exploration class?
Sure. We have Introduction to College, and we also have a career exploration course. That's Counseling 10 and Counseling 17. Those are the courses that we offered in the fall.
Okay, but those aren't courses that could go on to a transcript that would be good for transferring to Cal State LA?
Yes, sir, they are.
Oh, they are?
Yes.
Oh, all right. And then on slide 3, business information tech, let's see, 80 enrolled in business information technology. What sort of courses are those?
Sure. That's Introduction to Computer Technology, how computers are used in society. It's a very basic, fundamental computer technology course, from Excel to Word to how to use computers to communicate within an organization, et cetera.
Okay, so these last 2 categories that I asked about, those are courses that would that could go onto a transcript for units to get a degree?
Correct.
Right, okay. And then I went to the legislative conference just this past week, and the one last year, and I went to the sessions, each one of those, on dual enrollment. And I'm not sure that I detected that any progress had been made over the year in resolving some of the challenges in getting these programs to work. And just to mention one thing, and we don't need to discuss this, but just as an illustration, apparently we can't teach college courses at a campus that is not open to the public, okay? Now, that needs to change in state law or something, but that's just one example. I understand that there's resistance from some of the faculty associations, either at the K-12 or at the community college. So I just couldn't tell if there'd been any progress made in resolving some of these things, which everybody is really excited about and I'm enthusiastic about. And we met with a legislator, and I wasn't sure that people were optimistic that these things are going to get sorted out in the near future. So are we kind of still swimming upstream with a lot of challenges we're trying to work out that we hope would be smoothed over eventually by legislation?
Yeah, there are 2 basic questions. One is a concern about mission creep. Community colleges are there for adult learners, K-12 are there for students K through 12.
I mean, that's not a
I understand.
concern I expressed.
But I'm just going to say that there are 2 big themes. That's one of them, and I know that you didn't, Trustee Selvage. The second big theme is how is the money allocated? The traditional ADA model for K-12 versus FTES for community colleges, and who gets what. There are legislators, principally Assembly Member Holden and Senator Liu, who have both brought forward dual enrollment bills to keep the conversation going. Practically speaking, there are staff members in a couple of the areas of the Assembly in particular who are actually the ones that are driving the debate. As of now, it's a 50-50 at best, I think, in terms of whether or not they're going to work through what needs to be worked through during this legislative session. The reality is that these dual enrollment programs have existed for 15, 17, 20 years. I want to say this number 17, for whatever reason, is sticking in my mind. 17 different districts or colleges are doing this now and have been. And they're using existing legislation to effectuate these programs.
Are we one of the 17?
We are now.
We're about to be 18.
We're about to be 18, or whatever the number is.
Yes.
But go
And
ahead.
specifically speaking to that issue about it being an open campus, our PUSD partner is already willing to put in the MOU that they will be an open campus for students from the public who are enrolled in the college classes.
I will say that Dr. Bell and I have had concern about this from the get-go, but based upon the importance of the issue statewide, the importance of the issue to our district, we have given the green light to Dr. Levo, Dean Davila, and others to pursue this pilot project with PUSD and just sort of monitor everything else as it develops.
Okay, but with enthusiasm and motivation on the PCC side and the school districts, we've still got some significant obstacles because of the way the existing legislation is, correct?
That's correct. Dr. Levo and others would say that we can operate exactly within the purview that other districts have right now, and I guess the answer to that is yes. But I think both Dr. Bell and I and Dr. Scott and others would be more comfortable if we had something that was more prescriptive and clear and articulated in the appropriate way. Certainly, it's a big concern for K-12s in terms of their minors and how do they deal with that, all those types of things.
Trustee Martin?
Just, it's very simple questions. Who teaches the course? And how does the unified get paid, and how do we get paid?
Sure. So the teachers of the course are, for this pilot project, were our adjunct instructors who met minimum qualifications. There are models that exist, which we are exploring, which utilize the faculty members from the K-12 who meet our minimum qualifications. And who gets paid for the course? Well, existing legislation indicates that as long as the K-12 teaches 240 instructional minutes, which is equivalent to 5 periods of the day, then they can collect their ADA and we can collect our apportionment. So existing legislation supports that. And one of the school districts and community colleges that we've been exploring is Santa Barbara City College. They've been offering this for the past 12 to 16 years,
Right.
and they are currently the #1 community college in the nation as cited by the Aspen Institute.
Amen.
So follow up, if I understand you correctly, the benefit to the unified is they're receiving no loss in compensation for the students who are taking the college course, and have the opportunity to offer to their students and to their families enriched criteria that could actually count for college credits on the completion of the course.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
I think one of the things that is important to note about this program is that part of the effort is try to reach out and contact high school students while they're in high school and get them enrolled in classes by which they will get credit for high school graduation and also credit for enrollment at PCC. This is, I think, a means of reaching out to young high school students and motivating them, getting them involved in the idea that they really can go to college. It makes it a little easier for them to accomplish that. There is still, unfortunately, a very significant dropout rate in the public schools. It's been reduced significantly in the Pasadena School District, and that's fine, but there's still a long way to go. And so whatever we can do to help out and reach out to children who are in 14, 15, 16 years of age and get them motivated and connected to doing their studies and going on to college, then I'm all in for it. I think that's so much the better to do exactly that. That's what we're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, we spend a significant amount of time reading research articles, and one of the national organizations called Excellencia in Education, they have an expert panel which reviews submissions from colleges across the country. And South Texas College received a national award for their dual enrollment program, and it was found that, especially for Latino students, this is a method that works. And here at PCC, 46% of our students are Latino. In PUSD, it's upwards of 60% of the student population are Latino. It's one of the reasons why we thought perhaps we should explore this kind of effort to see if we can really make a difference in the lives of students and their families.
And I must say that I am very excited because this has been work in progress for at least 2-3 years, and I am really happy to see that we are where we are. We're not all the way there yet, but I look forward to the time when we can not just have this as a pilot, but really expand, because 88 students, okay, it's more than we had, but it's not really going to make a big dent. But definitely, I think this is great.
Thank you, and we'll be back with the MOU so that we can expand.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, so Dr. Lebo, you're up again here. Thank you, Dean Davila. Associate degree for transfer update.
Okay, so now I'm going to switch gears and present on some news that we found out about in fall of 2014, and that is that PCC is the #1 community college in the state for awarding of the associate degree for transfer. And you have a comprehensive report which lists all of the data for the individual schools and how many associate degree for transfers they awarded, as well as associate degrees in general. So how did we achieve this? The associate degree for transfer was legislation that was approved in 2010. This required for community colleges to work closely with the California State University faculty to agree upon coursework that would help students complete their lower division general education requirements for various degree programs. That way, when a student completes that degree, when they transfer, they are no longer held to additional lower division requirements. And additionally, the associate degree was updated in 2008-2009. That required for math to be more rigorous. So you can tell in our state, we've been trying to make it have our associate degrees prepare students for the rigor of university coursework. And what we did in counseling in order to prepare for this is we held a retreat so that counseling faculty members would clearly understand the differences between the 2009 degrees and then also the new degrees under associate degree for transfer. The Academic Senate at the time formed a committee, and it was led by Faculty Chair Armando Duran, and members of the committee came from all across the campus. Tonight we have Stephanie Fleming in the audience. She also served on the committee. And their charge was to go out to each faculty area and inform them about this new legislation and really encourage faculty members to participate in the working groups that were formed in the state to discuss the requirements. Ana Ogaz, our counselor and articulation officer, was instrumental in ensuring that all of the changes that were made to degree programs followed our articulation guidelines. And Liz Wood in the curriculum office really helped out tremendously in communicating with the chancellor's office as each faculty area submitted their C&I proposals. Finally, counseling implemented an online graduation initiative so that students could submit their grad petition without having to stand in line. in order to submit that, get it reviewed, and then stand in line again in order to get a final analysis. And so you can see the list of associate degrees that we have available. And I just wanted to really thank the people who worked very hard on this and who continue to work on it. Our interim Associate Dean of Counseling and Student Success Services, Armando Duran, is here in the audience. Really, my thanks to Armando for continuing to lead this. And I'd be happy to take questions if you have them.
Yes.
Choose first.
So I had a question. Which of these areas of degrees are we transferring, or do we have the most demand for? And then I also had the question on how many, where in our areas are these students coming from? So.
I understand your question is to find out of the 2,570 degrees we conferred, the 435 of them, which are associate degree for transfers, which district do they represent? And we would have to disaggregate that data by zip code to find out. So I do not have an answer for you about that at this time. In regards to which associate degree is most popular, I would say anecdotally speaking, I believe it's business administration.
And so how many are we transferring in that?
How many students are we transferring with the business
How many are
degree?
completing that ADT?
I'd have to find out. I'd have to disaggregate the data for you. This came to us because Michelle Pilati, who was the former statewide academic senate president, she was asked by many faculty from around the state, who's awarding all those associate degree for transfers? Is that really true that there's a college awarding that many? And so she worked with the chancellor's office, Data Mart, and they produced this report, and that's how we found out, because she sent it out to the CNI chairs across the state.
Is it fair to say, also Dr. Scott and Dr. Lebo and Dr. Bell, that we'll track these like we track any other degree going forward now? So we'll look at, from an institutional effectiveness point of view, we will look at the data, determine number of degrees conferred, whether they're straight AAs or ASs or whether they're ADPs. This will be part of our normal. And to get the answer to your question, Trustee Watt, shouldn't take a whole lot. I think that, I'm looking at Crystal and Cynthia, we can probably turn that information around relatively quickly. Yes or no, Crystal?
Okay, well, I see Crystal smiling, so I'm
Yeah, so she's now
trusting
saying
that
yes.
you will do it, and
we will.
I
We'll
just
turn
want
it
to
around pretty quickly.
congratulate you. I think this is great, and I like data disaggregation.
Yes, I do
Yeah.
too.
Okay, Trustee Lewis?
She asked.
She asked the question. Any other questions?
I just had a
Yes.
quick statement. I think you mentioned everybody, but we all remember our academic senate was on this game day one and worked very vigorously to get all these degrees established and done as an early leader in having the offerings. So, if you don't have the horses, you don't have the pull, right?
Correct.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
a lot of credit goes to the academic senate
Ed
for
Martinez
all the
was,
work they've done in getting all these degrees lined up and through the process that they have to do. So
absolutely. Back at that time, Ed Martinez was the president of the Academic Senate, and you're right, the Academic Senate did take the leadership to form the committee, which was led by the faculty member at that time, Armando Duran.
Okay, any other questions?
Dr.
Yes.
Scott has a brief thing.
Yeah, the number one ADT is business with over 80, and number two is psychology with 73, and then sociology with 50. Those are the top three.
Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Savage.
Numbers look great. However, after we hold the party, how are we going to compare how we're doing with other colleges to see if, well, for instance, based on the size of the college, are there any that are outperforming us? For instance, the second one on the list is Diablo Valley. I expect that's up north. I think it's up north. I haven't heard of it. They had 432. I mean, if they're half the size of us, their rate of cranking out ADTs is twice ours if they're half our size. So has anybody looked at these from the standpoint of how efficient or productive the college is, based on their size or the types of programs they offer. I don't know how our mix of having all these different programs besides transfer degrees compares with the other colleges that we're compared with.
Well, I don't think we've looked to that degree yet. It's a good thought, and we perhaps will. I think the way that we're choosing to look at it now is just to keep driving the numbers up higher, however we do it and how we compare. We were just favorably surprised and happily surprised that we actually were number one. We weren't attempting to be number one, but we were glad to do that. But I think on the list that you saw, there's at least 6 more associate degree transfers in the pipeline right now. There'll be more after that. And I'm sure the student services officers across the state will eventually get into what you're talking about, but I'm not sure they're right now.
Correct.
Great. Very good report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we will move on. We have an accreditation report. Is that an update? Is that
Yes, I'll invite our ALO, Matt Jordan, to the stage, and our faculty coordinator for accreditation, Stephanie Fleming, to the podium, I should say. They have a very brief report.
Yeah, so thank you for welcoming us again. This, as Dr. Miller said, this will be a very brief report, 2 or 3 minutes. And that is because everything is proceeding as expected in terms of our preparations for the site visit. So everything is on track. The roster for our site visit team has been finalized. There are 14 members that include 2 college presidents, 3 faculty members, 4 vice presidents, including areas such as student services, instruction, and administrative services, and 5 instructional deans, with one of those deans having distance education as their area of expertise.
And we continue to, in our preparation for preparing the college for that visit, specifically 2 things. We're preparing an accreditation booklet that we will give out to the campus, and in that booklet it will list the team roster, but it will also have some frequently asked questions about accreditation, about what the visit will look like, questions that the campus community may have about what that visit will entail. And then it also has some brief key information about our primary policies and processes that we think members of the campus are likely to be asked about. And so we're finishing the preparation of that, and we will have copies for you at the next board meeting. The other item that we're working on are the mock interviews. And so we're currently working on scheduling those mock interviews with folks on campus, and we'll be holding those on February 19th and February 20th.
Great. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item O, AB 86, grant submission.
So Dr. Ariano is going to come to the podium, and she's going to give us an update on our AB 86 grant submission by first defining what AB 86 is, and then going from there.
Okay.
And it's
Just briefly, as you know, AB 86 is legislation that was passed to really look at adult education in the state of California, not just in community colleges, but also in the K through 12 system. And the goal was to form consortia between the K through 12 and community colleges in terms of identifying significant gaps in adult education. The key about AB 86 is our legislators have specifically given us direction to focus on 5 program areas. The first is elementary and secondary education, adult high school GED, adult basic education. The second category or program area 2 is ESL, immigrant education, workforce preparation. The third is working with adults with disabilities. The fourth is focused on short-term career technical education with high employment potential. And the fifth is focusing on areas or programs for apprentices. So we have our partner, Pasadena Unified School District, and we've been working this past year in putting together a comprehensive plan in requesting future funding to address those gaps in adult education as part of the Pasadena Area Consortium. We received a planning grant for about $263,000, and we've been meeting with faculty, staff, community members to look at how we can collaborate, bring together resources, and address adult education. So what we ended up doing, it's about 100 and some pages in terms of our comprehensive plan, was submitted in December. But we've been doing a lot of planning in the area of professional development, but also a key area in terms of what PCC non-credit identified as a significant gap was in the area of instructional programs. So what I provided you with a brief summary of all of the new courses and certificates that were developed as a result of this planning grant that were recently approved by the Board of Trustees on the 21st. We have submitted everything to the Community College Chancellor's Office, and we're hoping in the next few months they would give us formal approval to be able to offer these new courses as early as summer 2015 or fall. The other key component as part of AB 86 is to really leverage resources in the community, and we have now formed our Pasadena Area Advisory Board. We are scheduled to have our first advisory meeting February 19th, and I'll just briefly mention some of the groups that we have reached out to in terms of those that have agreed to be part of our advisory group. We have Foothill Vocational Opportunity Solutions, Foothill Workforce Investment Board, Flint Ridge Center, Pasadena Community Job Center, Ability First, Altadena District Library, their literacy project, Women at Work, and recently I received a call from Eastern Los Angeles Regional Center asking to be part of our advisory board. So we have completed our planning. We are actually requesting to AB 86 approximately $4.6 million, of which $1 million is for initiatives proposed by PUSD, and about $3.2 million of initiatives that have been proposed in the planning grant from PCC. So that's a very brief overview of what we've been doing this past year in terms of looking at what we need to do in partnership with PUSD in addressing the needs of adult learners in our Pasadena area.
So I do have a concern, and you very well articulated the 5 points, I guess, that this AB 86 is addressing, but I'm really concerned about that group of students that came here, that what they do really describe everything that this is saying. These are first generation or whatever they want to call themselves, but I was there before. They go over to CEC. They've made a lifestyle just making clothing, selling clothing. I've seen them, and you know, for some reason, this same course was on the chopping block a few years ago. I remember these same folks coming and asking, please save this. This is the way they live. They don't need any restrictions. They just need to sew, sell, and make a living. And I really would admonish you to see how you can, I see there's, I think number 5 here, talk about short-term career technical. It is a career technical. This is what they're doing. They're learning a skill and selling and living. So I will really urge you to kind of see how you and Dr. Bell can work it out and save these poor adults, adult learners, adult that works, adult that needs to make money, so they could still have an opportunity to do what they need to do.
I think it's important to note that we'll definitely do that. Within the confines of AB 86, though, it's looking for programs with high employment potential. And unfortunately, at least from our labor statistics work thus far, that particular program doesn't have quote-unquote high employment potential. That's not to say that the district could not and should not continue to support it, but it couldn't likely be supported with this funding. Is that correct, Dean Ariano?
Not that it couldn't be supported by this funding. This particular certificate is 720 hours.
Right.
That is not really short-term. But I have been trying to work with the instructor in terms of how we can redesign something that addresses those kinds of interests of the students. Where we have to follow some guidelines from the chancellor's office when we resubmit, whether it's redesigned in a different way, is that we have to provide to the chancellor's office labor market information that demonstrates that there's jobs out there for that particular certificate. And these certificates need to be reviewed every 2 years to really ensure that there's employment potential. But I assure you, I will continue to work with the instructor to see what would be an alternative solution in this area of interest. But the way it is currently designed does not meet sort of the intent of being short-term.
So I have just one more question. So
Sure.
construction certificate, does that meet it? Because I noticed down here there were some certificates for construction, and some would argue that construction is no longer in demand. So I just really, my heart goes out to these individuals, and it's not the first time. It is not the first time. These are the lowest level folks that need to survive, and opportunities are given to everyone, and the real folks that need to live, they get slammed. And I really hope this does not happen. Go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
Hey, President Brown. I think some of President Brown's concerns, I think we're going to be looking at this in the Workforce Development Task Force too, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But I know that we chose PUSD as our K-12 partner in this consortium, but 3 of our 7 PACCD areas are heavily API, and I do know that there is a need for ESL and API literacy skills development for the API community, but did we not see that was something that we should offer under AB 86?
In terms of what, trustee?
I think the question is, did we approach other districts within our service area to participate in this?
Well, and how are we serving a fairly large population of our PACCD area that might need these skills?
In ESL, whether it's credit or non-credit.
Trustee Wall, I will attempt to answer that question for you. We did outreach to all of our K-12 districts within our, feeder high schools within our district. When we began the process of developing the partnership with PUSD, at the time we outreached and explained the basic contents of the grant and the tenets of the AB 86 grant, we did not get the sense from them that at that time they were ready to participate. So we went forward with the partnership with PUSD. We've outreached again, and as you know, there have been changeover with superintendencies in at least 1 or 2 of the districts, and so for those 2 new superintendents is a reintroduction of what we're doing in the partnership. So we intend to do that again, outreach to them to see how they possibly can participate in the future.
We actually did have meetings with the former superintendent from El Monte, and he made a decision to go with Rio and not Pasadena City College. But we did have numerous meetings to discuss working with that particular school district. And I also met with Santa Marino School District as well.
So is it possible to add additional districts to this consortium as time goes on? And so we'll endeavor to continue to pursue the K-12s in our service area and try to get them to participate.
Any other question? Discussion? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we move to What do we move to? PCC Foundation feasibility study.
Right, so we'll invite to the podium our Executive Director, Bobby Abrams of the PCC Foundation. And under tab P, you will see a detailed report from Executive Director Abrams, and she'll try to do a quick summary, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for letting me give this report on behalf of the Foundation Board of Directors and our President, John Gregory. Over the past couple of months, we've had several conversations with the administration, Dean Solomon Dowla, Dean Barbara Freund, Dr. Ryan Corner, Dr. Kathy Scott, and upon the recommendation of our Foundation Board of Directors, we hired a consultant who is doing some preliminary work for a feasibility study, and we wanted to bring you up to date on our progress. The first part of my report is really just to tell you what's been happening over the last 3 years since I've taken over the administration of the foundation. Followed by that are some of the targeted areas that we have identified through our conversations with administration, the things that will probably be tested in a feasibility study coming up. They end up being about $21.3 million that we will test in this community. The way we will go about doing that is identifying about 50 to 75 names in the community of people that we believe would be either funders or people who are stakeholders in any of these areas of education that we will be including in our feasibility study. The intent of the feasibility study is really to gain awareness, to identify who potential funders might be, but also simply to ask the question, can this community support this level of an initiative? And is this really something that the community feels is important for us to do? As we talked through our discussions, the issues of workforce development certainly rose to the top, along with some of the other health sciences and the needs of those particular programs. So that's why you see health sciences, workforce development, scholarships, and service learning programs in our preliminary case statement. When you go out to the community, you don't want to have your case statement completely finished. You want it to be in draft form so that when you're asking questions and you're asking for advice, people feel like there's still an opportunity to influence what is actually going to be focused on. So we don't intend this to be a beautiful document at this point as much as we intend it to be a place where conversation will start. What we're planning to do is write to the people that we identify and set up interviews in March. The feasibility study results will come back to the Board of Directors of the Foundation at their June meeting, at which time they will make a decision whether or not we feel this is a viable possibility. They'll make a decision about timing, whether or not to go into a campaign mode, and more than likely, if all of those things take place, it would be something that we would probably start in the fall. Just to give you the overall view, typically development goes in a cyclical pattern. We have just finished very successfully our Center for the Arts campaign, and so it is now the time for us to begin to take a look at another major gifts campaign, and I feel like we've got a very strong feasibility study to work on. And I would love your questions.
Any questions?
Just to comment.
I'm sorry?
Was that asking for our questions, was that a trick to get our money?
Trustee Thompson.
It was not a bad idea.
We would never trick you, Mr. Martin. No, I just wanted to say that as the member of this board who serves as a liaison to the foundation, it's been a real pleasure to work with Bob over the last 3 years since she's come on board, and we really have done a very significant turnaround and step forward with organization of things such as the strategic fundraising effort here. And so this is the way that the foundation intends to go forward. We've got the gala coming up in the middle of May 16th of this year, going to be on the campus here. And again, I would remind all of my colleagues here and everybody in the audience that it's not too late to buy a table for that event, or at least to buy a ticket and attend the event. So we hope that you will all do that. Part of our goal is to raise money for scholarships for our students, as well as to do another significant reach out to our community to let the community know what happens here. And to, we have a party, I think it started about 6 o'clock in the evening and goes to around 10 o'clock, and that will be it. So plan on coming. I think Mr. Martin is going to be out of town. I heard some rumblings to that effect, so he won't be able to be here, but I hope the rest of you will be able to do it. And there he goes. Dave is showing the brochure over there. Good. All right. So we will look forward to all of you being there. Again, as I think you're well aware, my wife Carol and I are the event chairs, and we're honored to have that opportunity and that distinction. So thank you, and do come to it.
Any other comments? If not, we thank you for your report and for your hard work. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a resolution, which is next. I think it was a resolution that Trustee Fellow had requested that we bring to the board. Did you want to discuss it, Trustee Fellow, or not?
No, I was just asked when I was president by other community colleges to get the support of PCC.
Okay, so do we have any discussion? Yes, Trustee Martin.
Well, I had one question, and it's not really so much with the point of the resolution, but it's how it may get implemented if the idea goes forward. So the idea is that we have some courses for the, I'll just say it quickly for the public that doesn't know what we're talking about. We have some courses that cost more than other courses, and that there'd be some additional funding available to community colleges to fund some of the more expensive kind of courses, correct? That's the basic fundamentals, which sounds wonderful, of course. We all would like that idea. Unless, of course, after we all push for this resolution, they take the same pot of money that they were going to take and slice and dice it slightly differently to fund more of the high-priced courses at a differential level. And have we done any math on how this might, if the pot of money is the same, the math behind if the total impact of PCC on the differential funding?
The answer is no, because there's not yet enough information yet to know how they would go about funding this. This has not, except in general, i.e. CEOs, CBOs, and others are supportive of anything that's going to bring more money to the area of career and technical education to fund these expensive courses that require equipment and what have you. I think it's probably a topic of the task force. I'm going to defer to Trustee Waugh here to speak to that a little bit.
Yes, this question actually did come up from one of the trustees in another college, and the response was that it is one of the issues that we'll be looking at under the Workforce Development Task Force. I also think that, so part of what they're doing is, I guess the message is to invest in doing what matters for our workforce. And so I think, for Lionel Wiggins and I are both on this task force, and Lionel actually represents the faculty side, and I represent the trustee side. And I think part of this message is going to be how do we not only focus the resources on what matters, but also start to build sort of that vision so that you don't just automatically tick off that these courses aren't in high demand and aren't being filled, and therefore they're going to be eliminated, but rather that we start to build a vision of what career latticing and laddering looks like. So there's a whole discussion, I think, that still needs to be had on that. And so I know it didn't really directly answer your question, so where's the funding coming from? But we haven't really decided, we haven't made that recommendation. We just have to take a look at where the the jobs are most in need and where we can make the most impact, and then we'll have to look at what the pot looks like.
So I would just personally say the idea is intriguing and understandable, but the devil is
In the details.
in the detail. And I'm kind of looking to the superintendent here, if maybe it wouldn't be wiser to save this one on the shelf until the task force has done its work and there's a little more clarity to actually what we are begging upon ourselves.
Yeah, actually, what I would suggest is that if the board is so willing to do this, that this item be deferred to our board legislative subcommittee, and that Dr. Corner and I have already talked about the fact that we will begin to track this more carefully, and the board legislative subcommittee can consider it as the process goes by, and as there is more information about the implications of this, they can consider, make a recommendation, and bring it back to the full board. That would be my suggestion.
Any other? Go ahead.
Yeah, to follow up on John's question or observation, if the same amount of money statewide is just going to be shifted a bit, if we have more of the higher cost courses, we'd be better off than average. We'd be better off.
Theoretically, yes.
We offer more of those, that's correct,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Given the robustness of the current state economy, I would suspect that if this goes far, they would provide additional funding, but we don't know enough yet to be able to say that definitively. And I think, yeah.
That's true, and actually part of one of the messages that came out from the Vice Chancellor, who is heading up this task force, that she gives sort of an assessment, and it's a message that we'll be sending out to everyone to keep you guys apprised. But there's a huge pot of money actually being allocated to CTE. So how that's going to be divided up, though, is going to depend on how the recommendations of the work of this task force.
Yes, trustee.
Right, one other question. Just general ballpark figure, what percentage of our courses do you think might fall into that category?
Oh, Dean Davila, would you hasten a guess at this point? It's a hard question, yeah. About 30% is what he's saying right now, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I would like to follow the superintendent's recommendation to keep this one active, and when there's a little more clarity, be quick to strike.
And I would definitely sort of agree with that, only because we don't have nothing nothing ready to go. So just put it on hold and watch and see how things go.
And we'll add it, Dr. Corner and I will definitely add it to our government affairs. He's already on it as of a couple of days ago.
Okay, so we are going to move to superintendent's report.
Okay, so I'm going to try to make this quick, but I actually have 2 meetings worth because I didn't get to do it last time, so I'm going to try to make it real quick. First of all, going back to the first, I just wanted to report that my wife and I, Barbara, had the distinct pleasure of hosting California Community College System Chancellor Bryce Harris and his wife, as well as his son and daughter-in-law, at the parade and the game. And Chancellor Harris is not only a superb chancellor, but he's also an incredibly nice guy. We had a great experience, and I would invite you, next time you're in the C building, to come into my office. I've hung up a beautiful gift. Barbara Harris, Bryce's wife, her mother was a very accomplished artist. And so there's a rose that she had painted over the years that is now framed in my office, but there's a wonderful story behind it, which Barb and I framed and I hung in there too. So I'd invite you next time you're in the C building, stop by and read it. It was really kind of cool. It also provided a great opportunity for Chancellor Harris and I to discuss our district and what's happening here and what have you. And he was pleased to hear of the ongoing good things happening at our institution. Beyond that, we did host our Band Fest, the parade day itself, all the post-parade activities. Just great kudos to facilities, staging services, and campus safety for really always making our institution shine in the eyes of the thousands of visitors who come to our campus during that time of year. It was just great. I also had the opportunity to participate in the Three Kings celebration at El Centro de Acción Social. I was a king providing gifts to the children. It was a lot of fun, so that was great. You've heard about the prepping for the site visit, so I won't go into that. Don't need to do that. I did want to mention that there was many of us who participated in 2 Martin Luther King celebrations during the weekend, including the Day On, Not Off at Washington Middle School, as well as the Monday event at the Jackie Robinson Center. I had the distinct honor of introducing new PUSD Superintendent Brian McDonald to the crowd. It went very, very well. As a follow-up, we heard about the ADT and working with our Asian American Pacific Islander, President's Asian American Pacific Islander committee, which is co-chaired by Vivian Chan. We had a very, very successful press conference for the Chinese press, if you will, where we not only talked about that upcoming event, but we also talked about our ADTs and had a great opportunity and got a lot of press in the Chinese press about our associate degree transfers and the opportunities associated with that. I couldn't read any of it, but I'm told there was lots of coverage, and I'm told it was all positive, so that was good. Beyond that, they actually had that event last Saturday. It was incredibly successful. There were over 300 potential students and their families in this room, and it could not have gone better. I know Trustee Wah was here. I want to thank her. Dr. Bell hosted it for us. This was 2 weekends ago. I was out of town and couldn't be here, but great thanks to Tamika Alexander and her team, our public relations team, and a whole lot of people for making that very, very successful. Dr. Mann mentioned it, but I was very proud that we did host the ACT Candidate Forum here in Westerbeck Hall. We had well over 200 people. It was very successful, and it was a good thing to do. Last weekend, or the weekend before, I guess it was, several of us went to the Community College League Legislative Conference, including Trustee Selvage, Trustee Wah, and Trustee Mann, and a number of staff members, and I was very pleased because it was clear that our trustees and our staff were very much in the House and very much participated in all of these activities. I think we worked better this year with the McCallum Group than we have in the past, and I thought it was a productive time, and maybe our trustees will speak to that briefly. 2 more quick things and I'm done, I promise. Cash for College was a very cool event that we had last Saturday morning. This is the opportunity where our outreach team outreaches to all of our incoming students of all ages regarding the financial aid opportunities. We had well over 200 folks here for that. Kudos to Nikki Dixon, Vincent No, Dave LeClaire, and several others. Councilmember John Kennedy was here. And did a very inspiring presentation, I might say. Adam Carter was here. Dr. Fala Azrani, who was here before from PUSD, was here. And Dr. Levo and I were here, and I sort of kind of semi-emceed the beginning of it. I want to thank Dr. Selvage for his attendance. Finally, President Brown and Vice President Wah and I had the distinct pleasure of briefly presenting a resolution in support of Fred Karamutsu Day. It was really a wonderful celebration of what I consider courage and perseverance and strength of character and courage and conviction about all Americans who have gone through challenging times for the rest of us, and we were able to present a commendation to the Pasadena Committee in support of that. So that ends my report.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. So now we'll turn to share governance. Mr. Cairo.
First of all, let me begin by saying congratulations to you, Trustee Brown, for being our new president.
Thank you.
I was not here that day that you took office. And Trustee Fellow, I want to thank you for the leadership that you did provide us that past year. Now, I did promise to behave this year, so I'm going to make sure I'm brief on this one point, and I'm going to measure my words. A lot of faculty came to me basically to complain for my lack of effort for informing the board of the problems we were having with accreditation. They viewed the December video where the members of the board said that they were unaware of the problems that related to the board to the accreditation report. And to me, that it showed that either you didn't listen to what I was saying, didn't pay attention, because just a month prior to that, I stood up in front of the podium there, and I said how there were problems with the report. I said how the faculty co-chair of the Planning Priorities Committee had misled the Academic Senate. And I informed all of you that if these problems were not remedied, that I would not sign. But when faculty viewed the video of December, they were complaining, why did you not inform the Board of Trustees? So I just want to let you know that that from my perspective, it made me look bad, as if I wasn't doing my job. But again, I made sure to inform all faculty that all they had to do was check the prior meetings where I did inform everyone. So I'll leave it at that. In regards to the Academic Senate, there is a shared governance committee that's formed, and very shortly there'll be a professional development policy for management, classified staff, and faculty, which, if we see it to its fruition, will eliminate a lot of problems on campus, and will especially maximize professional development for everyone here, and I think that's extremely important. Currently, the Academic Senate is in the process of revamping our committees. We've created a committee of committees, in which they're going to take a look at every single committee that we have, look at the mission statement, look at the membership, should it need to be increased, should it be decreased, and ensure that they're meeting on a regular basis. We're going to ensure that the minutes and the agendas are posted. And when we start looking at this, we have probably, between the shared governance committees and academics committees, we have over 30. And it's a huge task, a monumental task. So I don't know if the faculty that volunteered really knew what they were getting themselves into, but ultimately it will make things so much better for the Academic Senate, for the faculty, for the students, for the college. And finally, I'd like to say that we continue to have productive and very collegial meetings with the administration. And one of the best things is that when there is problems that arise on campus, we are able to meet with the administration and resolve the problem. So we're very thankful and grateful for that. And I know that Dr. Miller has the support of the Board of Trustees. So whenever we are able to resolve a problem, we feel that the Board of Trustees supports the decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Dave Douglas, Management Association.
Thank you, President Brown. I just want to say I'm sorry I missed last meeting, but we were speaking of professional development. There was a team of 10 of us at the American Association of Colleges and Universities annual meeting, Liberal Education, Global Flourishing, and the Equity Imperative. And it was great. We had representation from faculty, we had 4 deans, and we had 2 classified staff at the meeting. We learned a lot about high impact practices, what's happening nationally, both inside and outside of the classroom. We learned a lot about what we need to do to move forward. A couple of us attended the Community College Leadership Breakfast. One of us attended a Dean's Day training and so on. So we really got a lot out of it, and we really had a chance to interact with each other around some of the topical issues that would put forth at the conference. So I think it was a great experience for everybody that was involved. And the second thing is that I appreciate Dr. Miller pointing out that we had a 10% growth last year and 6% growth this year in instruction. I think I appreciate our leadership from Dr. Bell and Dr. Scott, but I want to give a shout out to the people that are on the front lines, and that's my colleagues, the instructional deans, who I think are largely responsible for that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. So, Ms. Caringela from Classified Senate.
Good evening, trustees, Dr. Miller. On behalf of the Classified Senate, we continue to meet, and we are currently continuing our planning for our biggest event, which is Classified Days. We are hoping to facilitate this event possibly close to the recognized Classified Week, which take place during the month of May. In addition, we did meet today for our regular Senate meeting, and we collaborated with the Academy of Professional Learning in hopes to bring and facilitate workshops for the classified staff. We did survey them in the fall, and we had requested for them to provide topics of their interest and in their needs. And so we're collaborating with APL in order to help address these learning requests. Lastly, at the request of the Senate President and Vice President and my fellow senators, the Classified Senate would like to publicly and formally thank the Office of Human Resources for providing multiple recent equal employment opportunity workshops. If you were unaware, the Senate had very few classified staff that was trained, and so we were very pressed for representatives serving on hiring committees. So due to their diligent effort, we were able to expand our list greatly, and so now classified staff is able to serve on several hiring committees throughout campus. So we would like to thank Human Resources for providing those workshops.
Great. Associated Students, Mr. Orozco?
Sorry, I don't like this thing in my face the whole meeting. A couple of things. One, we are working, I don't know if you guys have heard, we just released the 2014 Associated Student Spring Survey on our Facebook as of last night. I've been promoting it. The survey has questions in regards to overall student satisfaction on campus, include facilities, how their academics are achieved through the calendar, as well as how long they've been here and what they hope to achieve, either a AS, an AAT, or an AA, or continuing on to transfer to a 4-year. So once we get that data, we'll go ahead and share that with the constituent bodies on campus, including shared governance committees like planning priorities, calendar, and so forth. The second thing, one of my events that I'm having this month and a part of African American Heritage Month is the African American Film Festival. I invite you guys to come. The first movie we will be showing next Tuesday, which is the 10th, will be Dear White People, and it gives a little glimpse of the college experience through the African American student perspective. It's actually really great. Then we'll be showing The Butler on February 24th, which is a really, really great movie if you haven't seen it already. We will be having Chick-fil-A as well as some vegetarian and vegan options for you available. Lastly, I was talking to Trustee Thompson about this, and so I guess I officially invited him. On the Thursday, February 26th, from 5:30 to 7 in this actual room, we will be hosting the Candidates Forum. And in the Candidates Forum, we invite candidates running for mayor, city council, and local school boards to come to PCC to discuss their platforms and what they hopefully will do for the betterment of the Pasadena area district. So we invite you all to come to that, and then hopefully I'll see you there, Bill. So thanks, guys.
All right, thank you. Okay, trustees, do we have any report? Mr. Martin?
No report.
Dr.
Nothing,
Bello?
thank you.
Okay, just 15 minutes. No, actually, Dr. Miller covered quite a lot, so boy, if that's not a testimony to he's everywhere all the time, that's pretty good. I do want to add my thanks for the legislative session that we had over in Sacramento to the students. I think that Marshall, Elena, and Huber really represented the college very well, and I heard a lot of really great comments back from legislators as well as other colleges, and they were just amazed at how great our students were. So I think that was great. And I also want to thank the PCC for coming to support the rally that we had on AB 176, which is a bill authored by Assemblymember Bonta on the disaggregation of API data, and it is being supported by the Latino Caucus under Assemblymember Thorne and the African American Caucus under Assemblymember Joan Sawyer. So that was really huge, and it's about really focusing, getting the numbers, and knowing who it is that we're serving and where are the gaps so that we can properly allocate our resources. Then I also want to just give an update on the workforce development. So we had our first task force meeting a couple of weeks ago. There are several meetings that are coming up, but I wanted to let the trustees know that there is one on, I believe it's March 9th, and it will be at the LA Chamber of Commerce. And that one is focused on work partners, and I think it's really important for anyone who's interested in engaging in that conversation with business partners that they come to that. Lina will be notifying the faculty. There's a number of college town halls that are also taking place, so I encourage everyone to go to that. I think this is going to be a really important task force. I asked Dr. Miller to include 2 slides from our workforce meeting in the packets, and you'll see. So one is tells you what the mission and the goals are for the workforce, and it's about doing what matters, so connecting what we do in education to what is needed in the workforce. The second, though, is a really interesting slide that was presented not only at our task force meeting, but also at the Sacramento conference. And it's a question that was asked by Aspen Institute, and it asked the education, how well do you think that we are fulfilling the number of degrees that are needed that match what's needed in the workforce? And so 93% of education said they felt that we were really on target. Only 11% of business said that they believe that the number of degrees that we are graduating our students in actually match what's needed in the workforce. So, I think that those are gaps that we need to resolve, and we really need to be talking together. So that's why it's important to engage in these conversations. I also want to thank PCC for coming to the LACSTA legislative event. We had a really great event and invited the college, but also the K-12s. And when we talk about breaking down the silos of education, I think these are really important kinds of forums to attend because we bring the K-12s and the community colleges together. And so I really want to encourage all our trustees to try and attend those events, but also to encourage your K-12 board members to attend. So some of the things that we talked about were the dual enrollment, and we have on February 19th, as I said, at 5:30 in San Marino, we will be having Assemblymember Holden there to go over the bill on dual enrollment, and then we will be bringing in several models. So I invite you all to attend that. Also on March 13th, we will have an adult education event, and we will be bringing the Chancellor's office, Dr. Deborah Jones, down, and she will be giving the report on where the funding is and matching it to where the Chancellor believes that the colleges or the consortiums have hit the mark on identifying the benchmarks for adult ed. So I think that's a really important one if you're in adult ed. And then also in April, we will be partnering with CSCA and doing a workforce development forum over at East LA College. So I invite everybody and I encourage you highly to attend.
Thank you, Trustee Waugh. That's a lot of good information. Okay, Trustee Lewis.
No reports.
Trustee Savage.
I was in the area last Saturday, so I stopped by for the first part of the program on student aid and all that. And about half the students there were high school students. They had a show of hands, about half of them were high school students. I also noticed there were a lot of parents there who are very interested in their students successfully getting assistance. So I hope they provide the motivation and make sure they step up and find that assistance that is usually out there, if you look.
Thank you, Trustee Thompson.
Yes, among the piece of information we got in our board packets is this little announcement on behalf of the Small Business Development Center that we have at PCC.
Yeah, that was
A local restaurant owner got a loan for $2.1 million with assistance from our Small Business Development Center. For the restaurant, and I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, but Fonda Don Chung, Mexican restaurant, and that is terrific. And recognition is given to Salvatrice Cuomo of our center in this, and I think that's something we ought to recognize and celebrate. What Trustee Waugh did not mention about this one little report is that from the education business perspective of your college and university academic officers, 96% said they were extremely or somewhat confident in their institution's ability to prepare students for success in the workforce. Then 11% of your business leaders strongly agree that today's college graduates have the skills and competency that their business needs. So a little bit of a disconnect there, I would say. I wonder if it's possible to have something on an agenda coming up that would address this issue. And it's, I don't know who would do it or whatever, but it would be wonderful if we could have some type of a discussion, report and discussion about that mismatch and see what the realities are and what might be done to close the gap, because when you have the academic world saying 96% and the business world saying 11%, that's a problem. So.
Big problem. Okay, we
You know,
have,
I just wanted to say that the chart that Dean Davila presented several months ago, where he matched up where we had demand in our degrees and what the demand was in the workforce. I think that was a really important chart for us, and it was one that I want to share also with the workforce.
okay, we have one more announcement, and this is from Dr. Miller, and we're going to move right along.
Yes, very, very briefly. First of all, my apologies to Trustee Lewis and Elena, the student, who were on that as well. And thank you, Trustee Waugh, for mentioning that.
Hubert.
They were.
And Hubert.
And I was too. But anyway, the point is that the legislators really want to hear from students more than anybody else. And we had 2 excellent student representatives with us, and they did a great job. What I wanted to mention is we have the Jaime Escalante exhibit and project coming up starting March 5th. We've sent information out. We'll continue to. This is going to be an amazing week-long celebration of Jaime Escalante, one of our most esteemed graduates and over the years. And they're going to have a very significant event, and we'll give more information on that as time goes on.
Thank you. So our proposed future board meetings would be February the 18th, Saturday, the 21st. We'll have our spring retreat from 8:30. And please go ahead and clear your calendar. We'll be here till about 3. So
Where is
be
that gonna
ready.
be? Whoa.
It's going to be right here on campus. It may be a little earlier, but just mark 3 o'clock. We have a lot of business to attend. And that's it. So let's,
taking over my
Wednesday the
life.
4th, March the 4th will be our next business meeting, and March the 18th. Proposed future agenda items, do we have any?
But just this one,
The one that he just mentioned on the task force update, the gap issue.
Okay, so that would be on that, okay? And I think this meeting is adjourned.